Hello and welcome to the Jeff Ahern Show, where we go over the week's goings-ons, and just have some fun. That's kind of the goal here. So it's been a busy week. I'm looking at the news right now. Right off the bat, thank God this Alex Murdaugh guy can go away for a while. I know he's been like all over the media, everywhere. I mean, it's an insane, salacious. I mean, tailor-made for the media. I mean, they're just more and more. The insanity, the nonsense never ends with this guy. He murdered his wife and his son. He's a completely corrupt businessman. He's from this very old money family. I mean, it's got everything, and he's got like a ne'er-do-well son still living. It's fascinating, but you're hoping, you're praying that he gets convicted, because these days you just never know. You don't know what the hell's going through a jury's mind, but the jury clearly, based on the evidence that I saw, and probably you saw as well, made the right decision. Alex Murdaugh sentenced to life. Bravo. Thank you very much. Slammed by judge for savagely murdering his wife and son. Yeah. I mean, just awful. And his lies were so egregious. This guy's been corrupt all his life. This isn't a new thing. He didn't just wake up one morning and go, I think I'm going to kill my wife and son to try and shift blame off of myself for all this other financial misdoings. And I mean, this guy has been this way his entire life, likely his father before him. I don't know. I mean, usually they say it's the third generation that goes south. Usually the first generation builds it. The second generation nurtures it and also helps build it. And the third's just a wash. So I don't know where he falls in that. Maybe he's the fourth or fifth. Who the hell knows? But each progressive generation, generally speaking, you get the dregs. And this guy is straight up raw sewage, dregs and then some. So good. Go to jail. You deserve it. I hope you're out there. And that's my 2 cents on Alex Murdaugh. He's just a horrible human being. All right, let's check out the other news. It just someone who could do that. It sickens me. Biden. I'm checking this out. I'm looking over here. I don't know. Maybe I should be looking over here. I'm gonna move this a little. Still kind of getting used to it. I got kind of a new studio setup. So I call it a studio. It's my house. But I got a microphone that makes it a studio, and there's a camera. So yeah, it's technically a studio now. Democrats. This is on Fox. And Fox changed their layout. I don't like change, generally speaking. I know, maybe I'll get used to it, but yeah, I get used to the way things are laid out. And Fox kind of changed their way they have things set up. I'm just saying, Fox, it was good. I like the way it was. Anyway, Biden. Democrats express anger and frustration over Biden's apparent flip-flop. Well, if Democrats are expressing anger, probably a good thing. And it is, from what I've read on this. Apparently, I'm just click on the story so I get it right. It'll bring up another story as well. But it says House Democrats feel betrayed after Biden flip-flop on DC crime bill, and then they called it a effing amateur hour. Very nice, very, very professional. A Democrat congressperson, whoever that was, anonymous Democrat congressperson. The person said they were being hung out to dry because Biden flip-flopped on this bill. So I'm like, I read this whole article actually before I started this thing, because I'm like, well, what bill was this? And the whole article doesn't even tell you what. Again, Fox, just saying, the whole article doesn't tell you what the bill is. It just says they're mad about it because Biden said he was going to approve it. Now he's not, and then they're furious, and then it never goes into any detail about what the hell the bill was. So like I know it's the first time I ever read this thing. I don't know what this is. And then I gotta go another level deep and find out about this bill. So I did. So the bill, actually Biden, in one of these rare moments, he did the right thing. So, I'm not against, if someone does the right thing, I'll say, okay, bravo, pat on the back. Not going to, crap all over someone for 4 years, everything they do, simply because they beat my chosen candidate in an election. Anyway, House Dems feel betrayed after apparent Biden flip-flop. And the bill was this in Washington, D.C. As I lose my voice here. Apologies. All right. All right. So here's the bill. It was basically going to lower. It's Democrat city. So you already know what's coming. It's a crime bill. So you guess in your head right now what the bill was. Okay. It's a crime bill. It's a Democrat crime bill. Yeah. going to lower the threshold for crime, make some things lower sentences for crime, lower sentences for carjacking, lower sentences for carrying a gun from 15 to 4 years. Just lowering the sentence. All social justice stuff that just makes cities thrive. And so they were going to do that. And that was the plan. Even the mayor, Democrat, I disagree with her on a lot of stuff, but here again, I'll pat you on I'll say bravo if you do the right thing. And she did. She's like, no, this is crazy. The crime in the city's nuts right now. We can't have a bill that's going to get rid of what little law and order there is. And there's not a lot there to begin with, because Democrats have already done such a great job of ruining it and throwing it out the window in the name of social justice or whatever, in the name of their voters, basically. Democrat, if you're a criminal, why wouldn't you vote Democrat? I mean, you'd be a fool to vote Republican. I mean, Republicans are very big on law and order. I'm just saying, I get it. I get why criminals vote Democrat. I don't get why everybody else does. And so Biden, I guess, had said that he was going to. So the mayor vetoed this. She didn't want anything to do with it. But the city councils are killing cities, because even if the mayor's like, no, the city council can try and overrule them, which the city council did. So it gets all the way to Biden, where he can approve the overrule of the city council's overrule and allow this ridiculous law or lowering of the laws to take place. And instead of Biden signing off on it, be like, yeah, okay, let's make DC even worse, he said, nah, you know what? I'm going to veto this council resolution to override the mayor and and let what little law and order is left standing in DC stand or kneel. I don't know. So it's just great because, and here's the thing, this wasn't like, this is how this was how stupid this was on the part of the Democrats. It wasn't like a party line split. This was the House. I think there was 173 House members, the Democrats, who were in favor of making DC worse, in favor of lowering, criminal prosecution for criminals, in favor of, letting people who carry guns out earlier, letting everybody out earlier for that matter, lowering the threshold for carjacking, things for, at least what you have to do if you get caught doing it, the time you have to do for doing it. And so 173 Democrats said, yeah, no, let's make everything worse in DC. Let's again cater to our base of criminals. And you had, I think, 40 some odd Democrats who said no. I'm like, wow, all right, that's a lot of Democrats to come across, party lines and be like, no, this is crazy. And it's absolutely crazy. But it's still shocking to me that there were 173 Democrats who were like, yeah, okay. And it's also shocking to me that Biden actually did something good and said, no, you know what? This is insane. And here's the thing. Was it Biden? I don't know. I mean, anytime, there's a veto or this is signed or that is signed, I'm pretty sure they just stick a piece of paper in front of Biden and be like, veto this or yes, approve this. Veto. Like, I just have a hard time really feeling, like Biden's got his hand on the pulse of America. He really knows what's going on in front of him. I feel like it's just like, okay, here's a stack of paper, sign this one, veto this one, and someone's in his ear telling him what to do. So whoever that was, thank you. I don't know. Maybe Joe did. Maybe Joe had a moment of clarity. I think he has like an hour of clarity a day. So maybe this was his hour of clarity. This thing came and they're like, hey, Joe, you got to make sure that we ruin the people of DC's lives even more. It's like, you know what? No, wait a minute. Not today. And he vetoed it. I don't know. We'll see. That did not happen. Okay. AOC, that's rich. This is from the Fox also. Blame game after a squad member was caught accepting thousands in Met Gala goodies. Well, that's socialism. That's communism right there. The poor suffer because of the laws, because of the policies of the leftists, the communists, if you will, the socialists, if you will, who are in power, and everyone suffers and everyone starves and everyone's in misery except for them. And so this is just a prelim, basically, of what you get with socialism. You got AOC trotting around the Met Gala in this designer dress worth, she looks like she's in a Chick-fil-A bag, if you've ever seen the dress, but it's a very expensive dress, and the tickets to the gala, which are extremely expensive, gifted to her, of course. She doesn't have to, she's kicking Amazon out of New York. She doesn't have to deal with any of the consequences of that. She's got all the government money flowing in, and she could care less if you have a place to go to work or if you have a job. She doesn't care. She doesn't. She's playing you. She is playing you 100%. Marky, what do you got? Who has more clarity, Joe or Marjorie? Marjorie does, of course. That's an easy one. Joe, you could say, Mark, you say that about anyone. I think almost anyone has more clarity than Biden. I mean, in fairness, it's just, Biden is not known for clarity. It's not his strong suit. At one time, maybe it was. I mean, he's pretty clear now. He can't remember anything. And then you never know if he's just lying or he just has no idea. He actually believes what he's saying, but it's either way, it's not true most of the time what he's talking about. And then he does this. He'll say something completely untrue, a story that's completely untrue that can be fact checking, like, yo, well, that never happened. And then it'll be in the press and people will laugh a little bit, whatever they're allowed to, being liberal. And then he'll tell the same story a week later. He does not learn from his mistakes. Amazon. Yeah, of course. She blew out Amazon. Oh, am I loving Jeff Bezos? I got to be honest, Mark. I love Amazon. I'm not. Come on. And as you say that, I guarantee you this week or in the last couple of weeks, you've had an Amazon package probably delivered to you. I love the convenience of Amazon. So I mean, yeah, he's a slave driver, to say the least. But boy, he's made my life a lot easier. And no one's going to make you work at Amazon. You don't have to do it. And I feel like it is getting better. But yeah, you do hear the horror stories of it. But still, here's the thing. Is it better to have a job, some income, or have no job and no income? I mean, I would say a job and some income. So you get a job at Amazon, you're like, yeah, I don't like this. This is just horrible. But at least I got some money coming in. And while I'm working at Amazon, when I got some downtime, maybe I'm pumping out some resumes and I'm going to get a job I like. But at least between, I'm able to pay my rent and I'm able to eat and do all that other good stuff. Instead, you create a vacuum. And the other thing is, Amazon is going to be paying taxes too. I mean, it's a big company. I know that, they all, generally speaking, try to weasel it out, but this is New York. I mean, for a business to even open in New York in this day and age is shocking. There was another story, maybe it's further down, about one of the Shark Tank people going, you'd be a fool to open up in a business in California or New York. So here's Bezos. I almost feel like Bezos was just like, all right, look, I know I've been getting away pretty easy with taxes and paying my workers and this and that. Here's an apple, so to speak. Here's an olive branch. I'll open a place in New York where you can tax the crap out of me. And then we'll all be cool. All right. And then he's just like, oh, I tried, but AOC kicked me out. There was nobody happier, I feel like, than Jeff Bezos when AOC basically told him to go to hell. I mean, oh, good. All right. Well, hey, everybody saw, right? I tried to open a place in New York. Who the hell is going to try to open a place? It'd be like Tesla being, oh, let's open a factory in New York. It'd be like any big business. Let's open a factory where the taxes are astronomical. That was an olive branch swatted away by AOC. And here's the thing, all that tax money, and they would have generated a lot of revenue and tax money in addition to employment, would have gone into city services for all these great, social programs of AOC's, socialist programs. So I don't know. Oh, I missed a lot of your stuff here, Mark. It's all right. I got to look up here now, and I got to look down here. All right, can't you say that of most politicians? Well, yeah, I'm sure I can. But no, with AOC, it's just egregious. I don't like the woman. She's blatantly socialist. She's incredibly hypocritical. She's your classic socialist where, everyone, we're all the downtrodden. I'm the downtrodden too, but she's not downtrodden. She's living high. She's living pretty damn good. And we have some folks at a hotel here going on strike and getting unionized. Yeah, I don't know anything about that. I'm all for unionization. I have no problem with unions. I'm in a union. I'm in Screen Actors Guild, and they've managed to keep, the difference between doing a union job and a non-union job is substantial, and the unions serve an amazing purpose. And I'm proud to be a member of SAG-AFTRA. It's a great union, and they've done well by me. But at the same time, you get to a point, and there's a threshold that can be crossed where suddenly the union becomes so powerful and overpowerful, where they can really completely manipulate the employer to the point where it's almost an extortion racket. And there's a reason unions were mobbed up. They were a great way to get money and off of not only union employees but out of the companies. So there's a fine line between a union looking out for its members and a union looking out for itself, i.e., the higher ups of that union, the well paid, big I don't know what to call them, the CEOs, if you will, the union. I'm not that hip on unions that I know everyone's title, but yeah, like the higher ups of the union, suddenly it's just a money factory for them. And they could really care less about what's going on in the union. And then you wind up, what happens? You create a open vacuum for non-union, because they're like, well, we're going to get the same amount of work out of these people. They're going to work harder. We could pay them on a per order thing. I used to work in the automotive industry, and we would do trade shows. And my God, when you would go to New York, when you go to LA, Chicago especially, you would try to get something done, something moved. You couldn't move anything in there without some union guy coming over, looking around. And these were the favored union guys. They had in Chicago, I think it was Chicago. Chicago. They had their own little setup, their own little place. I mean, they just lounged around and collected money. And then once in a while, if you were nice to them and maybe gave them a little bump, if you really wanted to get something done quick, it was a racket. That's not what unions are supposed to be. It's what a lot of them become, and that's why you get a lot of anti-union sentiment. Teachers union to be an even better example, where you've got a situation where you have grossly incompetent teachers who just will teach you. They're not even teaching your kid, but they will be in a classroom with your child in perpetuity in every next grade that comes through, because you can't get rid of them. Best case scenario, you can move them out of the school and move them to one of the, what do they call them, a rubber house or something, where they just keep all these worthless teachers, and they still pay them, but they at least they keep them away from the students. But they're still getting paid. I mean, it's bad. So now you have, we were talking about charter schools last week. That's the beauty of the charter school. The charter school is paid. First of all, we brought up last week too, but it's half the money per student is spent on a charter school child versus a regular public school child. Yet you are getting higher results. You're getting an 8% higher return on your investment in terms of the grades of these kids. They're more happy. The parents are more happy. Everybody's more happy because the teachers are incentivized to teach the kids. Whereas the other public school teachers, if they're the only incentive they have to teach your kids is from a personal standpoint. It's just, I want this child to learn. It'll make me feel better as a person if I can make them learn. But they're not going to lose their job if they don't. They just sit at the class and be like, all right, everyone, just watch this movie, or here's some, read this. And then they just sit there and scroll their phone. They're not going to get fired. They're not going to get fired. You see it all the time. I mean, when the kids put up the cameras and they're like, oh, look at my teacher doing nothing. Or you're just the whack job teachers that are out there, agendizing and proselytizing, trans this or trans that, none of them get fired. It's almost impossible to get fired from a public school. It really is. Speaking of Chicago, hey, by the way, I'm going to Chicago soon. I'm going to go see opening day. I'm a little nervous about it. I haven't been to Chicago in a while. And the last time I was there, which wasn't baseball season, it was kind of in the winter, it just felt a lot dicier. It just felt dicey. And that was probably 5 years ago. I was like, hey, I don't like the vibe. All right, let me go back and see what you wrote here. So, believe it, Cambria. What's Cambria? Is that like, it sounds like we're talking about Germany or Cambria. It's a hospital workers are unionized. Yeah, I don't have a problem with unionizing if you're doing it. I feel like the initial purpose of the union is great. I feel like workers coming together, unionizing, just to make sure, you get a fair shake and you're not being taken advantage of, you're not being overworked, there's not child labor. I mean, there's so many benefits to unionization. But what happens is once the union is established, then it can go south, and you get, like I said, you just get these higher ups who it's just a money factory for them, and they're just grabbing money from everybody. They could care less about the union workers. They're negotiating side deals, and it becomes graft. It becomes high level graft for them. And the union and the business or whatever, all of them is just collateral damage. And you've seen it throughout history, and you still see it now. Teachers union. So let's see what else. There's that conservative commentator saying Nikki Haley is over the hill. Oh, that's is it a conservative commentator? All right, that's fine. Over the hill. I saw her in person 3 months ago. She's sharp as a tack. I'd put her up against anybody. She's a smart cookie. She's a tough cookie, if you will. but no, she's highly intelligent, very articulate. I mean, no, she's on her game. I feel like she's in if anything, she's in her zone. Like she's in her prime from a political standpoint, from what I saw. So if you're on the right and you're crapping on her, or you're on the left, obviously the left's going to crap on everybody as a presidential candidate. But if you're on the right and you're crapping on her, obviously you either want DeSantis or Trump. And I get that. That's part and parcel of how politics works. But I could not disagree with that more. I saw her, and she was really, really articulate, held the audience's attention, and just smart. She was just taking questions, and I have nothing but nice things to say about her. I'm going to see DeSantis. I'm excited about this. I'm seeing DeSantis. Thank you, Reagan Library. It's a home for conservatives in the wilderness of the left here in California. But DeSantis is going to be there Sunday, so I'm going to go get to see Governor DeSantis Sunday. I'm very excited about that, and I'll let you know how that goes. Next week's show. But he's terrific. I love DeSantis as well. Trump, I've never seen, but I've seen him, but it'd be nice to actually see him in person once. So I like to see all my presidential candidates in person. All right, Don Lemon. Ugh. Yeah, I was gonna say. You said conservative host. I'm like Don Lemon. Yeah, Don Lemon. Talk about over the hill, Mark. Don Lemon's not over the hill. Don Lemon's under the bridge. Don Lemon's he's a troll. I mean, he just trolls the right. Don Lemon, he had a good run considering how grossly incompetent he was, and he could read the news, and he looked nice reading the news, and he'd get drunk on New Year's Eve and have a great time. So from a Don Lemon standpoint, he was having the time of his life. But then it came out that everything that CNN had been running, it was nonsense, BS. The whole Trump-Russian collusion thing was all BS. And the rest of it was just so agendized and still is. And now you got this new guy at CNN because their ratings fell off 70%. So at some point, I was wondering if Soros would just support this thing forever. But at some point, you have to actually make a profit. You actually have to show that people are watching you, or advertisers even trying to be woke, and like, see you later. And so now they've had to do what they should have done a long time ago, which is cut the dead weight. Stelter, Lemon was demoted. Cuomo's out, obviously. And Lemon is hanging on by a thread. I mean, if he was white, he would have been fired already. I guarantee it. Stelter's just some fat, tubby white guy. We chuck him out without worrying about, someone screaming racism. And that'll be the first thing Lemon says is if someone cuts him out, he'll be like, it's racist. Not really. It's just, you're not a draw. You're not a draw. People are tired of your shtick. I think that's what it is. I think he had a shtick. It was popular for a while. People liked it. And now people are tired of his shtick. If that makes sense. And he's not doing himself any favors. Now he's crapping on, Nikki Haley for being too old and this and that. But in the past, if that had been him and he was, in his Lemon prime, if you will, they would have overlooked it. But now they're looking for reasons to get him out. So, his time there is limited. Yeah, I've never been a fan of Don Lemon, but some people obviously were at one point. They are no longer, I feel, either. He interviewed Mrs. Liu. She's an Asian Republican running there in California. Oh, wait, in Burbank. That's my hood, man. For real? I gotta. I do all this national politics, Mark, and I don't even. I miss all the local stuff. I'm still mad. I mean, I don't vote in Los Angeles proper, the city, but I'm still mad they didn't elect Caruso. He would have been an amazing mayor. I interviewed he interviewed. You interviewed. All right, I'm all confused. You said I interviewed. So Mark interviewed. I interviewed Mrs. Liu, who's an amazing. I put in amazing Asian Republican running there in California and in Burbank. Not sure she can win in a liberal bastion. Well, Sunny Liu. Okay. Yeah, Sunny Liu. I'll have to look into her. I'm Glendale technically, so I can't vote in Burbank, but yeah, that's cool. That's good. It's just nice to see someone running. I don't know, things here, Burbank, the Tri-City area. So you got Los Angeles, which is a dive. It's a dump. It's horrible. The homeless have overrun it. There's law and order is non-existent under their DA, very progressive guy. George Gaskin, just horrifically progressive. He's on his second recall attempt already. I'll talk about that next. It'll lead into Gaskin and what a just train wreck this guy is. But again, he was voted in by LA voters because he's a Democrat. But you got the Tri-City area, which is Burbank, Pasadena, and Glendale, which kind of surround Los Angeles. Now, they're still very liberal, but I guess it's all compared to LA. You're like, oh, thank God I'm in one of these places, because there's still law and order. You don't have the mass influx of homeless all over the streets. You don't have the high level of crime because there's still law and order. People still like their police department. There's a respect for the police department. And so criminals, generally speaking, if they're going to commit crimes or do bad things, they're going to go where the DA is really progressive and even going to, hardly give them any time at all if they do something. The homeless are going to hang out there because no one's going to roust them and move them on or make them go into programs if they want to keep receiving aid. So, the Tri-City area is for now good. And again, good is relative compared to Los Angeles. When that changes, that's when I've got to pack up, because I'm on the outs. I'm right on the bubble right now. I'm on like the 8 Mile. If you ever live in Detroit, which I have, I'm just the other side of 8 Mile, which is the circumference of the city of Los Angeles proper, and trying to hang in there, but it gets tougher every single day. So yeah, I hope she wins. I don't know anything about her, but she's Republican. It can't hurt, right? What's sarahsenator.org? sarahsenator.org. Okay, well, I will check her out, man. That's cool. Yeah, I mean, you just got to get someone in there, which is common sense. I don't care what party you're in, generally speaking, but I feel like to be a Democrat and to run as a Democrat, you have to sign away your common sense and just sign along the dotted line with whatever the agenda is of the left. And you look at what we just talked about in DC, where they want to lower, which is already just a crime-ridden cesspool. It's horrible out there, and yet they want to lower the punishment for crime again, because it did so well the first time. It's just crazy. And I don't know how you can't see it. But again, you talk about making improvements, small improvements, incremental improvements. What was it? 43 or 47 Democrats said no. That's a huge improvement. They didn't completely go along party lines and say, yeah, let's do this foolish thing. They said, no, you could say no. Say no. Just because you're in the party doesn't mean you can't say no to something egregiously stupid that they're proposing. Yes. All right, let me head back here. I was going to talk about Gaskin real quick. So Gaskin is just a horrific DA. He's the Los Angeles DA. He's on his second recall. I don't know how they didn't get the first, but he's notoriously bad. He's bad enough that he makes national news because he's such a I don't know. He's woke squared basically. So my first real disgust with him was when he allowed, I think it was a 17-year-old driver who was high, driving a stolen vehicle, driving the wrong way down a one-way street in a stolen vehicle, purposely crashed into a mother and her child she was pushing in a stroller, almost killed them, and was given an insanely light sentence by this DA, Tia Gaskin. I mean, to be woke, to be socially just, blah, whatever. He doesn't care he cares about criminals a lot. Law and order, citizens, not so much. And eventually, I think from this guy who was let out after a very short amount of time was eventually killed, shot somewhere. So if you put him in jail, George, he'd still be alive. Just saying. But but the latest one is just even above that, if you can imagine. I mean, just think about what I just told you, what happened, and now we got no punishment. So this guy, I think he got about the same sentence as the kid who, 17-year-old who crashed into, the mom and her child in the stroller. Tubbs is the name, James Tubbs. So this guy, James Tubbs, convicted pedophile. He assaulted a 4-year-old in a library while the child's mother was a few aisles away. He got brought up on charges. It was a cold case where a 10-year-old girl was assaulted in a Denny's restroom. It was him, and he pled guilty to it. So he was brought up on this cold case. So he was 17 when he attacked this Denny's, the girl in the Denny's. Because it was a cold case, obviously he was brought to trial when he was about 26 or 27. So because of that, this guy, because he was technically a child, 17, when he committed the crime, Gaskin decided to try him as a child under the laws of youthful offenders, which meant the maximum sentence he could get was 2 years. Even the judge on the case was like, no, let's make him an adult so I can at least give him a sentence, commiserate with the crime that he committed. And he's by the way, he's done this stuff in Washington, Seattle, I mean, it's multiple states. This guy's like, he's a spree pedophile. And so Gaskin, that's the first part. So he's like, okay, no, you can't try him as an adult. He needs to be tried as a kid because he was 17 then. By the way, he's only 2 months away from his 18th birthday when this particular crime occurred. And he's a menace. He's a pedophile. 10, 2, 4, 10. I mean, he's a menace. And there's more on the list. And so to add insult to injury, the prosecutor of the case, he then suspended the prosecutor who was in charge of the case for putting this disgusting pedophile in jail because he misgendered him. He dead named him. And I had to look at what the hell dead name was. Liberals, they got all these new terms and words. I'm like, all right, what is dead naming? So I just Googled it. Dead naming, I guess, is if you, like, his name was James Tubbs. He changed his name to Hannah Tubbs. So if you call him James, you're dead naming him because that name is dead. Whatever. So here's the best part, or the worst part. He's on the phone with his dad in the jailhouse on a recorded call. He's like, hey, I don't want to be here anymore. I don't like this jail, this where I'm at. I don't care for it. I'm a pedophile. They don't really treat you very well in jail, and so he goes, what can we do? Talk to my lawyer. So they come up with this cockamamie scheme. This is after he's been arrested, by the way, that he's now trans. And he's changed his name to Hannah, and he identifies as a woman. So now, idiot Gaskin is like, sure, yeah, let's house him in the juvenile female facility because he was 17 at the time of the crime. You're like, oh my God. He's recorded with his dad coming up with this thing. And there's one call where the dad calls him. Yeah, this is after they've started their cockamamie ruse, which, by the way, good on them because it worked, because you got a moron DA. What do you got to lose? Why not try it? I don't know why every male criminal doesn't just be, hey, I'm trans, who needs a conjugal visit when you can be sentenced to one, right? So, regardless, so he's on the phone with his dad. This is after they've got the basics, underway for this scheme of theirs. And the dad's like, hey, Hannah. And he's like, huh? So he doesn't even remember his name's now supposed to be Hannah. He goes, hey, Hannah. And he's like, oh, yeah, I totally forgot. This is the level of not even trying to, and it's on a recorded call. And yet Gaskin, in his, this woke emperor Gaskin, just decides that he's going to suspend this prosecutor for 5 days for misgendering someone who's just gaming the system. It's oh yeah. Oh, Mark, yeah, I'm so glad Lightfoot's gone. But I just saw something about Lightfoot. Mark says, I'm a Democrat, but still trying to figure out how Lightfoot lost in a crazy city like Chicago, where it's impossible to lose an election. People not here since their 40s are still voting. Well, I mean, she lost, but that just shows you how bad a mayor she was. She was so bad that even Chicago, which will put up with anything in terms of Democrats and policies and such, said no. We just no. I did a story about her, or I did about O'Hare and the homeless situation there, and how it's just become a homeless shelter at this point. I was saying, hey, Mayor Lightfoot, the election is, because that was hardly even in the news anywhere. I kind of stumbled on it when I was doing this O'Hare story. The election was February 28th, and don't vote for her. Don't vote for her. But in my head, even in the story, I think I said, I know you probably will. She'll probably get reelected. I was genuinely surprised and happy when I read that she hadn't been. I was like, okay, well, again, it's baby steps. Democrats making baby steps. But here's the downside. They're just going to elect some other Democrat. So it's like, okay, you get rid of the face of the party or the face of the mayor, but you haven't got rid of the problem. And the problem is progressive liberal policies that just keep letting your city get worse and worse and worse. And just putting a different face on it doesn't change anything, because I think the front runner right now, I'm almost 100% certain, is in fact a Democrat, and it's going to be a runoff election, so it'll be him against someone else, and I believe the other person also a Democrat. Not 100% sure, but I think that's the way it works there. I think they just go based on percentage. It doesn't matter the party affiliation. So that's bad news for Illinois, because you'll probably never really have a chance to have a Republican really get his message out there, because they're all about Democrat only, and yet that is what's killing the city. It's not so much the person in charge, it's the policies which they promote, and the policies that they promote are progressively liberal, and it kills your city. There's no place where, with progressive liberalism running amok, like say Chicago, where things are better for it. And until you vote for someone on the opposite end, or at least more to the middle, maybe that's what they're hoping to get, a more centrist Democrat. But at the end of the day, it's still progressive liberalism, and it's just eating your city alive. So I'm going to be in Chicago for the Cubs home opener. Excited about that. I have not been to seen a Cubs game in a while. It'll be interesting. I'll let you know how that goes. It'll be interesting. As I lived in Chicago for 8 years, I loved Chicago. I know, it was very Democrat then, but it's just gotten so much worse since I was there. The violence has gotten so much worse. The public safety has gotten so much worse. It's just, from everything I see and read, it's sad, because it was a really great city. I love Chicago. I wouldn't live there if you paid me right now. I'm going there to see a game, but then I'm getting the hell out. It's like a hit and run mission. I'm going to go in, catch a game, and fly back. That's the plan. I'm going to see Governor DeSantis too this Sunday, so I'm excited about that. All right, Mark. I've had a great time. Thank you, everybody. I'm glad this all worked out. Hope you like the new arrangement. Oh man, look at this. I've been going this whole time, and I didn't realize this thing was in the shot the whole time. All right, look at that. Huh? How's that for the last 10 seconds? That thing not there. Baby steps, right? Baby steps. All right. Have a great week, everyone. Check me out as my voice is going on. Anyways, check me out on jeffahern.com if you haven't already. Support me there. It's what keeps me alive. It's like $3 a month. You get a lot of great news and funny bits. I'm doing, I just did one on New York, on NYPD. I don't want to get into this one because I've got to cut out, but the NYPD, you can check it out on my jeffahern.com. NYPD relaxing standards again, getting rid of the 1.5 mile run so they can get more cops, because they're desperate for cops, because they villainize the progressive liberalism. They villainize the police so much in order to get votes and stay in power that now no one wants to be a cop. And the cops who were cops are retiring, leaving, going to other forces. And then now they have to lower the standards again and again and again. And all they're getting is just the dregs. People who wouldn't have stood a chance of being a cop, 4 years ago, 3 years ago. And the standards weren't that great then either. But that's New York. That's most Democrat cities these days. It's a horrible truth, liberals, Democrats. It's a horrible truth. If you want public safety, if you want to not be afraid everywhere you go, if you want your businesses to stay open and not be robbed constantly, you have to embrace some law and order. You have to work with police and come together. Communities need to come together with the police. You need to support each other. You can't just keep crapping on each other and expect anything to improve. They won't. You're going to wind up like New York, where you're just cutting the standards lower and lower and lower, and then pretty much anything with a pulse can be a cop. Are they going to be a good cop? Let me ask you this: if someone in your family gets murdered, which is in liberal cities, it's not such a far-fetched idea. What's the chance of that case being solved when the caliber of police that you have in your city has been allowed to degrade to such a low level? You're just to get in. It's not very high. The unsolved, it was scary. I read something about the unsolved homicide rate is soaring because the cops can barely keep up with what's going on now. They're also understaffed from the defunding. And then most of them afraid to do their jobs if they're in a liberal city, because they're going to be called racist or this or lose their job because, they upset some woke politician, some one of their constituents. So you it's just lawlessness. So you're hit twice. You're hit once with the loss of a loved one, with a friend through murder, and then you're hit a second time knowing that there's maybe maybe, depending on where you are, a 50% chance that murder ever even gets solved. In a lot of cities, it's lower than that. Cops are too busy. And the ones that aren't, how good are they at doing all this stuff? You've lowered the standards so much on them. Unless someone comes up and confesses to them that crime, or they get someone, tells the cops who did it, it's probably not going to happen. And then that goes back to working with the community. If there's no give and take or working between the law enforcement and the community, and they're both at loggerheads, well, that's not going to happen. No one's going to give up anybody. All right. Sorry, I said I was going to talk about it. I don't want to talking about it. All right, Mark, I'm going to cut up. What'd you say? We had a retired cop do an event last weekend to preview a movie called You and 50. Okay. BJ Council. Is that really the name? First of all, Mark, I don't know. I might change that name. BJ Council made it up to the hierarchy. Thank you, Lieutenant Chief. Oh, is that his name? BJ Council? I thought it was like a council and it was called BJ Council. All right. Anyway, movie is about what to do if stopped by law enforcement. Yeah, I got it. You don't need a movie. You watch that Chris Rock video from the Chris Rock show. Oh, it's her. I messed it all up all the way around, Mark. But yeah, I love that Chris Rock video. What to do if you're stopped by a cop. It's a classic. Check it out. Google that. YouTube it. All right. Thanks, everyone. Hey, thank you, Mark. I'll see you. I'll see you next week. God bless. Have a great weekend. And please check me out on jeffahern.com. Thank you. Bye.
I'm a first-generation Filipino American. You don't always feel you're a part of the country you live in. It's this weird middle space sometimes that you have to live inside of. But when you meet others that are also living in that space, you'll learn to know that it's its own unique space too.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
Mario fue pintor más de 30 años. Cuando Mario me dijo que tenía problemas en el trabajo, que se le estaban olvidando las cosas, fue difícil.
Yo le diría a la gente que le diga a su familia lo que está pasando con él. Y quiero que me apoyen, que me entiendan y que me quieran.
If I could be you, and you could be me for just 1 hour, walk a mile in my shoes, walk a mile in my shoes.
How you holding up? Nothing wrong with getting help.
If I promise to look into it, will you drop it and help me build this fence?
Now you need my help.
If you or a veteran you know needs support, don't wait. Reach out. Find resources at va.gov/reach.
Skipping through the end times.
Well, maybe Tesla should have tried a bit harder.
Well, it's hard to go against the corporate power of Westinghouse. Hey, look, a hitcher! You don't see that much anymore.
Pick him up!
What? Have you seen any movie ever? He looks pretty shiny.
Dude! It's the Mandalorian!
Oh, God.
Hey!
Hello.
Where are you headed?
North. Up Petaluma way.
Oh, well, hop in!
I appreciate you stopping.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, how could we deny such a prestigious bounty hunter?
This is the way.
Oh, Dave, it's a lift up here. So what are you doing up in Petaluma?
Meeting some friends at a brewery.
Oh, sweet. Care if we tag along? I'm just kidding. We'd never invite ourselves. But, seriously, if you did, we know some pretty good spots.
Hey, I have a question.
Dude, don't mess this up.
Yeah?
In Season 1, Episode 6, when you had Baby Yoda...
Grogu.
Yeah, sure, Grogu. Why did you have him crawl into the Razor Crest hole to fix a complex electrical issue? Being his father figure, don't you feel just a little bit negligent risking his life like that?
Well, we were stuck and it needed fixing.
Lucky those X-Wing pilots happened to show up, huh? Anyway...
Right. Which brings me to a much larger issue.
Dave, please. So, what was it like meeting Luke, huh?
Honestly, your complete incompetence when it comes to being a bounty hunter.
Oh, God.
Like, you have zero business sense. And let's be real, you're pretty terrible at fighting. You're essentially just moving from one blunder to the next, each time miraculously being saved by some force of sheer luck. And morally, you're kind of meh. So, all in all, kind of borderline unlikable, dude.
Okay, well...
Oh, don't mind him, Mr. Mando. He's just still bitter about the whole Last Jedi thing. And the Rise of Skywalker thing, and, and then the entirety of the prequel trilogy thing, and then, Palpatine.
Alright, I get the idea.
But we're so lucky to have you around now. I mean, things are on the up and up. Huh? Ahsoka Tano, Dave, huh? Thrawn, dude.
You're right, dude. I'm sorry to be so harsh on you, Mando.
I'm just gonna get out here.
What? Why?
Yeah, why?
I'm just gonna jetpack the rest of the way. Freaking nerds.
Wow.
So cool. Oh my God.
Well.
Oh, look! It's another hitcher. Here's our chance to make up for it.
Huh, you're right. Hey, is that...
I am Boba Fett.
Hey, OG Trilogy, now we're talking.
Hey, so why do you take your stupid helmet off so much?
Dude. Oh, God, we're totally getting sued.
There is a road laid out for me.
First night here, but Amy seems cool.
Leading down to the river. I am blind, but I need not see.
What do you think?
I know this road is there for me. If I'm really free, take me down to the river and walk.